Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. As the sun goes down, as the sun sets today, I want to be able to have a conversation with the ladies. Adults only. Now, I know that a lot of people feel like I am siding with the men a lot. I do. I have four brothers, so I do. Um, Even so much so that I feel like people that I'm close to know and are and are related to that come up on my channel are like, really? That's how you feel? Um, so I just want to set the record straight for my female audience because I don't want y'all to think that I'm just totally about that everything is your fault, right? Maybe this is what I will call this video. Ladies, everything is your fault. It's not your fault. It kind of is, but it kind of isn't. And I think that the issue that I have with this channel, since I've started to focus more on relationships and like black female relationships, is that there seems to be a very, like I get it. I did a video about how the media portrays beauty, right? And I'm gonna do a reaction video on an example of this because as a black woman, there is definitely a social discourse when it comes to the level of insecurity that we have. And that plays out in our lives in various many ways. Too numerous to mention in an 8-minute video, but it is something that we need to be extremely cognizant of because I do realize that I'm a little bit harsh when it comes to talking to the women because I want to get y'all upset. Because a lot of us are really just depressed. And when you're depressed, you don't want to do anything. And so I figured that if y'all are upset, at least you want to do something. You want to take action because anger is a step up from depression. However, there is a level of however, but however, there is a level of accountability when we are dissatisfied with the way things are going in our lives that we need to start to pay attention to when conducting ourselves in the public arena and in social settings and making decisions in our lives that don't just affect us. And I think there is a lot of confusion going on when it comes to what affects just me and what affects us all. And when I talk to women about the res- so when I talk to women about taking responsibility for having a baby with somebody that you realize you didn't like, or having a baby outside of wedlock, or just being too old for having a baby or having marriage, there are a lot of different excuses that come up, none of which are, I did this, right? And I understand that there are bad people out there, that we do encounter bad people, that we have been so beaten down and so hurt and so damaged and so bullied and oppressed that we have adopted a way of being for a level of survival in a time in our lives that actually did exist. And when I tell women, you're not there anymore. This is a new day. This is a new time. You can do different and be better. This is kryptonite. It's something that is insulting almost because I am living this right now. And I do understand that it might be all too real to walk away from because there is a level of comfort. We got to admit that first. There is a level of comfort in living a narrative that we've always lived. Because if I have to change, that may just be outside of my capacity. But I want you to know that capacity is something that is learned through exercise and ritual repetitive practice. For me, that meant that I had to be around people that I was not used to being around and step gingerly out of my comfort zone as much as I could, as often as I could, when I could. And it also meant, as a Black woman, which was extremely difficult, accepting that I was wrong. And the beautiful thing about accepting that you're wrong is that If you don't get it the first time, you get to learn it again and again and again and again until you realize, all right, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is not working out. If I'm experiencing the same kind of thing all the time, then I probably need to do something different. And so it doesn't mean that things won't continuously happen that not continuously, that things won't happen that are against your favor. But I think that one of the beautiful things about being able to choose your own path is that when things happen that are not to your favor, you get to choose how you react and respond. So when people ask me how much racism do you experience in Germany, for example, I say no more so than I would in my own country or in America, because I know that that exists and I don't make that my experience. And when it is my experience, all I do is move on to the next thing. And I try to do it quickly because I know how sensitive I am and how much it's going to take out of me to think and analyze and discuss and utilize my energy to dig into the hurt. This is extremely challenging to do on your own, and that's why I recommend people find a buddy system or go to therapy or find a friend who has a disposition about life that is mirroring the kind of disposition that you might want to have. And for me, this might sound a little bit quirky and crazy, but that's why I have white friends because they're my advocates, my allies, and a good example of some of the things that I have to unlearn that are specific to being Black in the West because we tend to make racism our identity and it becomes a chip on our shoulder. The other thing is unlearning beauty standards as beauty standards because it's another very sore point for us. And it's so complex. Like the beauty standard thing is such a complex thing. Um, but it really isn't because if we realize that being average is okay in terms of physical looks, like I'm talking about, like, I'm not talking about IQ or whatever, but in terms of physical looks, if being average is okay and we can accept that, then we want to make sure that we are the best average person there is out there. And I know some people are like, oh, but Nahana, you're not average. Thank you. I am very average these days, anyways. But one of the things that I've had to do was to let go of wanting to be somebody else and really nurture being myself. That might sound quirky and corny as hell, but it really has helped me to release a lot of pain around not fitting up to certain beauty standards that have been set by society and start to realize that this is what works for me. This is how I feel healthy and comfortable, and I'm happy here. And it's not for everyone, and I can accept that. Now, if it is damaging me, if it is not the truth about me, and if it is not fair to those concerned, then maybe I need to start to think about changing that dynamic. And that is what I'm trying to get women to see and hear is that there's a very fine line between, okay, body positivity, accept yourself as you are, don't try to change too much about yourself, and accepting things, don't try to alter yourself too much because it might lead to something very dangerous, or there may be something about yourself that you need to change because it is leading to your ultimate demise. And I think that, again, like my other mantra or my main mantra, self awareness, practicing self awareness can really help us to understand what the differences between those two things are and make steps towards changing them. One of the big things, like me and my daughter were just talking about this just now. I'll give an anecdote. She was telling me about the orthopedic doctor, orthopedicians. I don't know, doctors of the feet, right? And she wanted me to go get this operation because I have like really weird feet. I have like a little bit of situation, and she was like, "Yeah, you can get that fixed because." It runs in my family, basically, and a lot of people in my family have difficulty walking. when they're older. And I'm like, hell no. That was my response. I was not trying to get this operation. And she's like, do you want to walk better when you're older? I just have a thing about getting surgeries. Like, some of us have a thing about eating vegetables. Some of us have a thing about exercise. Some of us have a thing about getting our hair wet. And all of these things might have intricate problems. Like, and I can talk about this, Black female health. This is what a lot of people came at me for. A lot of women came at me for this when I posted my last video about female health and all of the issues around that. And I was really shocked because I don't know why I was shocked. I should not have been shocked because women are very sensitive. Black women are very sensitive when it comes to issues revolving around them because we're deeply insecure and because we've had to carry a lot, like I've said before. But it's not helping us to lie to us about the things that us need to change. We need to change certain things, and that means that we have to hear certain very hard, delicate truths. And sometimes there is no delicate way to say these truths. And my daughter was just like, Mom, you might need to get this surgery. You should see a doctor about this. And so I gave in to the idea of having to probably sit in a wheelchair for 6 months because the surgery means that I won't have to walk. There are other options for me, I'm telling myself, but coming to the place of being able to recognize when I need help um, is a very, very delicate matter for some of us. And I think that more of us should do that more often because what is at stake is the rise or fall of our communities because we are the nurturers and teachers of our communities. And what we teach our people, our children, by way of being, is as a direct result of what's happening in our communities. So while it is not entirely our fault, if we look around us and see what's happening and what's not happening, what needs to happen and what's not, and what is not able to happen, it is it is because of a direct result of women and men going their own way and leaving the children as orphans to be raised by the state. Now, I know this is very hard and harsh to say, but I don't really believe that women on a whole in the Black communities, especially, have really thought through what they have thought through themselves, what the bigger picture looks like in the next 5, 10, 15 years for the communities that are coming up right now. And there seems to be a strong disconnect between me as a person, as well, not me, but the individual and the individual in the idea and the concept of the community. And once we start to realize that everything is connected and that we have more power than we will lend ourselves the ability to think we do, we will start to be able to make investments and changes that can benefit us directly. Black women, especially, women, Black women especially, end up in situations where they have invested in things that do not directly, if at all, benefit their communities. That's unheard of. And that is why this wake up call that I'm giving to you very strongly and very, very, very crisply and concisely is to bring to light that fact. The degrees that we get, the education that we receive, the money we spend on our hair and upkeep and all of the things that we spend our money, the the light in which we stand as representatives of our communities does not benefit us directly as a community. I have anecdotal story after anecdotal story about women activists even who have friends, brothers, cousins, uncles in jail. And these people have platforms where they can speak and address these issues in our community, and we don't. And so, as a sacrificial lamb that nobody likes, I want to make sure that we are being very conscious of what is going on in our communities and make sure that we have a plan of talking about it and finding of talking about it and finding a solution. Should I say it third time like Dr. Omar? Talking about it and finding a solution. All right, I hope you guys have had a great weekend. Hope you guys are having a great week and stay safe, stay free.